Hello from Bali. This is podcast Pigeon of Peace, where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about devotion, and let's start with the definition.
In the Russian language, there is a saying, if I would be an old one, I want to have someone around who will give me a glass of water. And there is another kind of ending. One girl, she came to neighbors and suddenly her small one, children, give her small glass of wine. And after she came back and write in her diary, дневник diary,
Yes, diary.
thank you, in her diary, if I would try to give my inheritance, I would give it to this small girl because she know exactly I do not need any kind of water, but I need a wine when I would be old one. Also on work, in office, we want to be surrounded by people who is loyal. If we, for example, have a fight with someone, maybe in court, maybe in real life, we also want to have people who will stand with us as a wall, and we could rely upon them. And this is a luck, or maybe even luxury, if you have more than 5 people who are committed to live in connection with you. So devotion is a beloved skill of people who have many connections. Because if you're surrounded by many, you have not so much friends.
And when we actually speak about devotion, it could be obviously located or maybe like projected towards person, towards company, towards maybe some ideals. So as a person, how would you distinguish like what exactly you should be devoted, why, and maybe like till which extent?
There is a lot of jokes, especially in network, which is called LinkedIn, that job is not your family. But sometimes our bosses or managers, they will say, come on, we are a team, we should make everything all together. But sometimes you should work on weekends, but they play in golf or maybe drink some beer and make photos and put them in Instagram or in other social media. But you would work rather good with people who will stand with you. And there is a word in Russian language, I hope I will translate with your help. There is a word like a batya.
Well, I would say it's still like a daddy.
Okay, there is a daddy, thank you, word, which means that this person could be severe sometime and maybe would punish you for some small mistake. But anyway, if time will come, this daddy will fight even against this dragon, with someone which is quite bigger. And you should remember that your company and your neighbors and your teammates, they will forget you if you will move to another office, to another field to play, or move to another region to live. But just keen ones would be with you. And there is also a saying in Russian language that relatives' blood is not a water.
Well, I do believe it's actually quite firm and strong, and maybe yes, it really makes sense in order to, like when you do make a decision whether you want to, keep someone close or not, and if you have a connection, you probably would do so. And you also mentioned an interesting part, like testing the demotion, and I do remember it's one of the movie that I watched. It was about like military, special service, etc. So there was like a high rank officer, and basically he was dating with a girl, then they got married, and like he was sharing everything with this girl, and the moment that they got married, uh at at the wedding itself, like he was even speaking to the high general, and actually he said, now you pass. And this actually, it turns out that this girl was an agent who was testing his devotion. So the next day she left, and he proceeded with like his service. So till which point the devotion could be tested, and do we should we expect that like we always under, I would say, under magnifying glass, under like any pressure to prove it? And again, like if we do, we want to prove it, or we just want to like really be genuinely loyal?
It's Funny story, but I will tell you. Right now, I'm working on the project, and there are several families who own a big company, and each family separately. Some of those families together, and even all of them ask me to sign NDAs. So now on one project, I have, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 NDA, and today I got another one to sign because another 2 families ask me, okay, come on, do not say to anyone that you have already NDA with us, but please sign this. So now I see that I have separate NDAs with several families, and also I have several allies, allies or alliance, how to say?
Alliances, yes.
Alliances, which also ask to share some information after signing NDA. And I don't know, maybe it's kind of compliment because they trust or maybe have no other choice, but this is not a good example. When you will work with someone or will live with someone, there is a very important word I never use in Russian language, and in English also. There is a word which has name or meaning sacrifice. Do you remember this time when it was Second World War, and was a guy, his name was Alexander Matrosov, and he pushed his body against the gun of some special fortress, which was trying to kill as many people as possible with machine gun, and he was closing by his body this small window, and he was definitely dead. And sometimes I think by myself, if I am able to do such a thing, and I'm not sure. Second, sometime I was diving or snorkeling with some people, and it was maybe several cases when I take people from the depths. And several times I was even punished by associations of PADI because they were saying there is not such a thing like heroic behavior, because better to have 1 corpse than 2 corpse or 3 corpse. And this first time it was in Egypt, second in Australia, and each time I was thinking, but why? I was trying to help. If I would be thinking, I'd rather like someone to dive with me. And in all cases, in first case, it was Egyptian dive master. By the way, he is very, very similar by his body and his face with Johnson Rock.
Dwayne Johnson, yes.
Yes, Dwayne Johnson. Rock, his name is Rock in English, yes?
That's correct. That's the nickname.
Yes, a nickname. And second, it was guy from Australia, and he also was saying that it is insane to do such things. And I was thinking, okay, now I know that you will never dive when I will have problems. And one more thing. Several weeks ago, Maxim Kolpakov, he was in Oslo, and he bring me a small cap with the name Frem, F-R-A-M. And I asked him, okay, I could understand that it is a symbol of something, but symbol of what? And he explained me, do you know, this was guy who was trying to reach North Pole, and he was taking the ship. His name, its name was From, and they were trying to reach North Pole, and they have a provision for 5 years. And after they were stuck in icebergs, they spent 3 years in this trap. And after, when weather became better, they continue their journey to North Pole, and they achieve their goal. And for me, it's quite a devotion.
And you also, I think this is also very nicely brings us to another question. I do remember it, one of the skills you mentioned at one of the lectures, you mentioned that at a certain point of time, you need to find a way, like whether you want to continue or not, whether you're stubborn or stupid. And I do believe it also might be for devotion. And at another lecture, you also mentioned that, like, for example, military forces in different countries, they got like a different approach to doing certain tactics. Like, for example, in one of the country, they would actually try to survive as much as possible. And maybe on the contrary, in other forces, they actually would try to sacrifice themselves for the friends or for the mate as much as possible. So where to find this moment when you actually need to stop, like whether it should be like a good reasoning or it could be like religious, spiritual, or like simply pragmatical. Is there any such point if it exists at all?
I do remember a story of my grandfather. He was an high-ranking officer close to Lake Baikal, close to Mongolia. Is it okay to say Mongolia?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you, Mongolia. And he was saying that sometimes they have a fight with Chinese troops. And he explained me they use the techniques of 6 waves. First wave, it would run people without anything. They just run to sacrifice themselves. And second, the same. And third, the same. Then you will have 2 waves of people who are running by the row, but just with guns, just to shoot someone. And the last wave, 6-1, they would go with a knife to stop people who are still alive. And I asked him, but what is the reason why those 3 waves are going without any weapon? And he was saying, Chinese at this moment, they feel lack of bullets, so they put bodies against our guns. And after such a big amount of shooting, our guns would be empty, or they would, I don't know, stock.
Yeah, they would stuck.
Or they would stock. And I was thinking, but how these people could do this? As you remember, I was working in Japan, and also at some point of time I was having conversation with old one guy, and he was saying that he was serving in military forces. And I asked him, okay, I know some stuff about Japan military forces, but one thing for me, it's like a blank spot. It's okay to say blank spot.
This could be blank spot or maybe blind spot, depending on the context.
Okay. And I asked him, do you really at this time has people which you called kamikaze? And he told me, yes, it was very devoted men, and they were prepared for their task from 6 to 9 months. And I asked him, but why? To drive this small semi-plane or semi-torpedo, is it really need to spend so many time and so many months? And he told me, from 5 to 8 months, they were studying geopolitics and they were filled with propaganda. And just 3 to 4 weeks, they were trying to simulate how they will die with special, I don't know how to say, bandage.
Yeah, like a bandage.
Bandage, and also shouting like I'm going to die.
Well, I do believe it's actually quite impressive when you actually train maybe your willpower and like a mentality, and then you only train the skills. And then my last question will be how knowing about devotion could help to make this world a better place.
Several days ago, I was thinking at one guy on the project, and I was thinking maybe should I invite him to Bragинский bureau because he know a lot of different technologies. And then I decided not to invite. And the reason he was not devoted, he trying to behave himself as a cat. He does just what he likes. And I was giving him some поручения.
Errands.
Can you please repeat?
The errands.
Errands. I was trying to give him some errands, thank you, but he apparently didn't fulfill them as expected and in time. And I was thinking, okay, now you lost your chance. And I was thinking, okay, it's a good lesson for me. Never очаровываться, never to be
charmed.
Never to be charmed before you test the person.
And we review the skill of devotion and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.